Hi, everyone. My name is Heather McCammon-Watts. I am the Services Department Manager here at the Deerfield Public Library. And June is a Pride Month, so we are celebrating all month long here at the library with special programs like this one. So this is Parent Café, and we are talking today about gender expansive children and how to support LGBTQ plus kids and families. This program is for parents, guardians, teachers, the community, anyone who is interested in how we can use books and conversation to increase awareness and acceptance for LGBTQ plus diversity in our community. So let's get started. I'm going to start the presentation here, and just one moment. It's going to be the full screen. And let's share. Just a moment. Thank you for your patience with this while I'm recording. Okay, so to start with, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Heather, and I use she, her, hers pronouns. I like to include pronouns whenever I introduce myself as a good practice to make pronoun usage or making it really obvious and making it very normal. The more we normalize asking about people's pronouns or offering up our own pronouns, the more it protects transgender people, and it also increases awareness for everyone. And it's also just a really lovely courtesy. So that is me. I am cishet. So I am not part of the LGBTQ plus community. I am an ally, and I am the mom to 2 trans kiddos. I like to use the word kiddos because my kids are now adults, and unfortunately there really isn't a great gender neutral term to indicate the children once they become adults in a gender neutral way. So that's why I say kiddos rather than son or daughter. So maybe someday we'll come up with a better term, but that's the one I use. So I work at the Deerfield Public Library. If you have questions, my email is right there. I am happy to answer any questions or receive feedback from you. Again, I'm not part of the LGBTQ plus community, so I acknowledge that there are very potentially gaps in my knowledge and in my presentation, and I would really love to learn and grow. So the first step with creating more gender expansive friendly communities and families and libraries is to talk about language. Gender neutral language is really important to help everyone feel included. And the more you dive in, the more you realize how gendered our language really is. So when I'm talking with kids, I like to use fun words like hi peepadoodles or hi littles, or hey, it's great to see you Kit Kats, it's great to see you little chipmunks. All of those things are really fun. As kids get older, you might want to make it not quite so babyish and start saying words like folks or hello peeps or people or hello humans, something like that. Even something simple like hello friend is a wonderful way to start a conversation with a stranger. At the library here, we talk about how to address people at the service desk, but this is applicable to any public service position. Instead of saying hello ladies and gentlemen, sir or ma'am, say hi folks, hi neighbor, hi friends. It's great to see you here today, welcome. So that is just a very important place to start. And the more we stand up in our communities and demonstrate that courage and that boldness in supporting our LGBTQ plus neighbors and friends and family, the more that awareness will grow. So let's talk a little bit about the alphabet mafia, as it's sometimes called. Basically, I think most people know some of the terms, but we may not know all of the terms. It is ever evolving and ever growing. And even within the community of LGBTQ plus community itself, there is some difference of opinion about what people prefer. So the best way to know is simply to ask. So L is lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans. Q is sometimes used for queer, which is an umbrella term, or questioning. I is intersex, A is asexual, 2S is two-spirit. The plus is just let's keep going. There are, I think, currently like 52 different ways of identifying with gender, and it's fascinating and it's beautiful and wonderful. And I would like to compare it to other ways that we categorize our world. So let's think about dinosaurs for a minute. There are a gazillion different dinosaurs, and we're continually discovering new ones and new names of them. And so if a 4-year-old can say Micropachycephalosaurus, then grown-ups can start to say LGBTQ+. I like to use it as a comparison that we can do this. We can learn, we can change the way we approach language. We do it all the time. When someone gets married, we adjust to their new name really quickly. So we should be doing the same thing with our trans community, especially. If people change their name, we can adjust. If people change their pronouns, we need to adjust. It is just a common courtesy, and it is a basic tenet of friendship and welcome and belonging to acknowledge how people prefer to be called. You know, someone named Catherine might come and say, hi, my name is Kat. And we would immediately start calling that person Kat. We wouldn't even question it. So why are we questioning transgender individuals? So think about it that way, and practice, practice, practice. If you do mess up, we all do, just simply say, I'm sorry, and move on. Or even better, say thank you for pointing that out and move on. If you keep going, then it puts the burden on that other person to feel badly about it, about pointing it out to you. So don't do that. Just short, sweet, either I'm sorry, correct yourself, or thank you for telling me, and correct yourself and move on. So these are some slides about the gender unicorn and the genderbread person. They're both very similar. I use them both just because they have slightly different ways of talking about it. But to dive in a little deeper, this is a really great way to start. It is super important when we're talking about children in particular, that the difference between gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation is very vital to understand, because gender identity is something that comes from within. That comes from the individual. It's what they feel like on the inside. Gender expression is how they are expressing that on the outside, and that can change. That is based purely on your looks and not upon what you're feeling inside. And so a lot of people get the gender expression, they think someone is one way by the way they're expressing themselves. So for example, someone's wearing a dress, someone automatically thinks that they are a woman, and that is not necessarily the case, and that's really important for children to understand as well. Sexual orientation is, of course, who someone's attracted to, and that is something that during adolescence really starts to come into play. And start to develop more deeply. Now, it's important in our communities to distinguish between sexual orientation and gender identity, because gender identity is something that children know very, very young. As young as age 3, they already know who they are in that gender identity spectrum, or they at least know enough of what society expects them to be able to question that. Sexual orientation, on the other hand, is something that takes a little bit longer for people sometimes to know once they are fully developed in adolescence, of course. That is often when someone will come out with their sexual orientation at that point. But sexual orientation and gender identity are not the same thing. They are two different things. So sometimes when people complain about, well, we don't want to deal with sex, sexual orientation in children, nobody's talking about that. Nobody is saying it is about sexual orientation with a 5-year-old. It is about gender identity. So here are my picks for some picture books. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and come back and show you some of these books, some of the best parts of them. Hold on, let's see if I can do this. Okay, so this first book is called Love Makes a Family. And this is a really great book for toddlers and preschoolers. And it is all about the different types of families. It includes LGBTQ plus families, but it also includes cis families as well. So the thing about Love That Makes a Family, I'm going to start sharing this again with you so you can see the lovely covers. Sorry, just a moment. I'm still practicing with this. So the picture books are coming out fast and furious right now, and they are just really incredible, some of the new ones that have come out that I wanted to share with you. So the Love Makes a Family includes all of the whole rainbow of families, and it's very simple, very short, and just a really good starting point. Second book I want to talk about is Julian is a Mermaid. That one won a Stonewall Book Award. Stonewall is an award for LGBTQ plus children's books, so it is always a good place to look at those lists to get some ideas. But in this book, Julian is a kid who's riding on the subway with his abuela, and they notice some mermaids come onto the subway. And Julian goes home and is inspired to dress up as a mermaid as well. And he tells his grandmother he is a mermaid. He's not quite sure how she's going to react, but she ends up reacting just beautifully by supporting him. And not only that, she takes him to the Mermaid Parade. And this is based on a true mermaid parade that takes place, I think, in New Jersey every year, where the LGBTQ plus community will dress up as mermaids, as well as other sea creatures and all sorts of fabulous outfits. And it is just such a wonderful parade and celebration. The next book I want to talk about is Prince and Knight. It is a good book for talking to kids about two gay men who fall in love, and one is a prince and one is a knight. And it uses the standard, there's a royal family, they're looking for a partner for their prince, and he ends up finding a knight that he falls in love with. But what I really also like about this book is that his family is supportive from the very beginning. They welcome the knight with joy, and I think it's just a very positive portrayal of coming out to your family and having it be okay. The next book I want to talk about is called Pink is for Boys. This one is good for kids to explain to them that it's not what you wear that determines your gender identity, but it's not what you like that determines your gender identity. Girls like pink, boys like pink. Girls like to climb trees, boys like to climb trees. So that is just such a surfacey way of talking about gender that is good to explain to children that the only way to really know is just by simply asking. It's okay to ask, are you a boy or a girl? And it's okay to say what a child feels like inside, as well as non-binary children. I don't feel like a boy or a girl. It's as simple as that. So the next one is Call Me Max. That one is about a young child who has been misidentified as a girl at birth and is a boy inside. And some of the ways this book describes their journey is really, really good. So I'm going to read you a couple of parts. This explains what transgender is. Transgender is a long word, but it means something simple. Trans means going across, like how transportation means going from here to there. Gender means being a boy or a girl. or a little of both, or not feeling like a boy or a girl. When a baby is born, a grown-up says it's a boy or it's a girl. If a brand new baby could talk, sometimes that baby might say, no, I'm not. When a baby grows up to be transgender, it means that the grown-up who said they were a boy or a girl made a mistake. So that is just a really great way of explaining what transgender means to kids, and they get it. They really do. So the final book is called Phoenix Goes to School, and that is about an assigned male at birth child who inside is a girl and is a girl. So this is based on a true story, and so it is very sweet and very gentle, and also describes some of this process in a really kid-friendly way. Today's my first day of school. I am scared to wear my dress to school. There are bigger kids in the older grades. They might not understand me. What if they are bad, bully me, and call me a baby or a boy? But I'm a girl. What if no one will play with me or want to be my friend? My mommy tells me I'm perfect and to be brave. You know who you are, she says. Just be yourself and always listen to your heart. She tells me to remember the pretty flowers that are all different and beautiful in their own way. So I think that's one of the best ways to talk about these issues with our children, is to describe the rainbow is a perfect metaphor, but also just the beauty of the world around us and the diversity of the world around us. Nature is endlessly diverse, and there are many, many examples that we can point to about how nature just grows and develops and isn't tied to the binary genders. So for elementary school, here are some other books to think about. Being Jazz was one of the very first books that came out written by a transgender girl. And she has really changed the world with her perspective and with her ability to really explain what being transgender means, but also she's just got such a big heart. And I think people were really touched by her story. So that is a really great place to start with elementary kids. Also, for kids who like Harry Potter and those kinds of things, Magnus, like fantasy novels and magic, Magnus Chase is, I believe, the first book to feature a non-binary character. Rick Riordan is one of the writers who has really stepped up to support the LGBTQ plus community, and he continues to add characters in his books that are diverse on the gender spectrum, and he's the author of The Lightning Thief. Better Nate Than Ever is a really charming book about a kid, a drama kid. Lots of LGBTQ kids are drawn to theater, and so that's a really supportive community. And so Better Nate Than Ever is a really fun, silly book for kids who are into the arts. Drawing on the Walls is the story of Keith Haring, who was a gay man, and we lost him far too young. He died of AIDS, and it's a beautiful biography, very lighthearted, very gentle, and his art is super accessible to kids because it's so bright and so bold. And hopefully, after they read the biography, they will be inspired to do their own drawings. Lumberjanes is about gender expansive kids. It's a group of assigned female at birth kids. And I think the thing about Lumberjanes that makes it special is it's a graphic novel, but it's also, they are also accepting of each other, that this is just part of how they relate to each other. And I think that's a beautiful thing. George by Alex Gino. Alex Gino has a new book as well. Both of those books are about transgender kids who are struggling to come out, but also struggling with just kid stuff like friendships and homework and how do I, tell my parents that I threw the baseball through the window kind of hijinks. So it's a really charming book to get into. The Best at It is good for intersectionality because it is about a kid who culturally is afraid to come out, but because he comes from a very traditional family, but in the end he is fully supported and learns that what he is best at is being himself. So who can argue with that? Finally, The Misadventures of the Family Fletcher. That one is just a really goofy story. It is a story that has two gay parents in this book, but it really doesn't focus on the parents being gay. It just focuses on the family adventures. And so that's one of the reasons I like it too, is it just is a family, like every other family, except they all trip over the canoe together and things like that. So for middle school, Tom is a friend of mine, and he suggested some of these for middle school. And as kids get a little bit older, they're ready for more of the serious discussions about being LGBTQ+, and some discussions about bullying, discussions about how to navigate the social world and how to support our LGBTQ+ friends. And then finally, here's some picks for adults. If you want to learn more about how to support kids, these are some excellent choices. This Is How It Always Is a fictional book, and it really opened my eyes to what it might be like to raise a kid, a transgender kid, from little on. My own children didn't come out until they were adolescents, so that was a different experience than when a child comes out when they are 4 or 5 years old. So it was a very helpful book for that. Raising the Transgender Child, or the Handbook for Families About Transgender Children, was also, both of those books really give you the nitty-gritty of how to support our kids, and how also to advocate for them in the schools and in the community at large. The Everybody book is good to share with kids because it is the best body positive book about the changes happening in your body and going through adolescence. The other books, Beyond Magenta, Trans Like Me, those are both books that are our own voices, that are written by people who are LGBTQ+, and they are writing about what their experience is like. So at the library, we try to provide programs and services for gender expansive tweens and kids and grown-ups. I just wanted to highlight a couple that we are doing here at Deerfield. We make it a point to provide inclusive, safe programming. We have youth advisory boards that we ask them questions about how to make them more gender inclusive. Parent guardian support is really a key component of this, which is why we're doing this program. We are here for you if you have questions, if you want books, resources, more programming, whatever you need, please come talk to us, because we would really like to help with that. We also provide gender creative play options. For example, you know, and I encourage you to do this at home. Instead of a dollhouse, try a treehouse, which is a little more gender neutral, for example. When you are picking dolls and toys, think about that and make sure to choose a diverse array of genders for children's playthings. So finally, there's inspiration that we have every day with what other libraries are doing. A Rainbow Storytime, I just did one here for Deerfield. It is on our YouTube channel, so please take a look at it. But there are some other possibilities for programming at the library. And again, I would really love to hear your suggestions. So please send in your questions, send in your comments, send in your ideas for programming. And if you are part of the LGBTQ+ community, I'd really, we would love to have you come in and do some programming with us. If you are an ally, which I also am, here are some ideas on how to be a trans ally. A lot of it is advocating for LGBTQ plus youth. I want to make the library a safe place. We celebrate Pride Month. We're conducting diversity audits in our library to make sure that our books feature positive representations of LGBTQ kids and their families. So, why all of this is so important is because representation matters. LGBTQ plus youth are at risk of suicide and they battle symptoms of depression compared to non-LGBTQ plus youth. But studies also show that if they have supportive families, supportive communities, supportive schools, supportive teachers and parents, their risks go way down, like dramatically reduced, just by having that support. So that is why we do this and do this awareness. All students deserve an inclusive school, an inclusive community. There's a lot of legislative battles going on right now regarding trans athletes. These are important facts to keep in mind and to advocate for. Trans girls are girls. Trans athletes do not have an unfair advantage in sports. There is no evidence to that. Including trans athletes benefits everyone, and trans people belong on the same team as other students. This is the issue of our time, and I think it's really important that we know the facts, and the library is a great place to find those facts. So please reach out, and we've got resources for you. Finally, there are other resources out there for organizations that are working with LGBTQ plus youth. Here are a few of them. The Trevor Project is awesome for trying to get information out there and to prevent youth suicides. The Rainbow Book List provides lists of books for children and teen readers. P-Flag is for parents and families of lesbian and gay people. The Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network is for schools, so that's the best support for teachers. The It Gets Better Project is about is more of a PR project about helping trans youth in particular know that there is a future for them and that it really does get better. The Human Rights Campaign legislates nationally for LGBTQ plus rights. I'm going to stop sharing now. Let us create diverse, inclusive, accepting, and welcoming spaces for everyone. And I hope you'll join me in that, in making the library and Deerfield a really safe place for our wonderful community of LGBTQ plus kids and families. Thank you, and have a great day.